Hey guys, welcome back to Get Smart with Rory. Once again, looking at last week in science. I have my notes here once again, so I might be referencing those once in a while. But let's get straight into it. Our first story, in case you've been living under a rock, is another promising vaccine against COVID, the Morena vaccine, which has been shown to be 94% effective plus, and has gotten some extra news due to its association with Dolly Parton, who donated $1 million of her own income towards its production. This is another vaccine that uses mRNA technology to trick the human body into producing some of the viral parts. Not the entire virus, it's not dangerous, but we get a couple of little parts of it produced by the body, and then the body goes, what are these parts? This isn't something that's supposed to be there, and it gets antibodies to fight it off. I think that this might be the way that we make vaccines moving forward. It's proven to be apparently really effective, and given how fast they've been able to be made, I know this year has been really difficult for people, and we've been wanting to see a vaccine right away. But the fact remains that getting a brand new vaccine, let alone ones this potentially effective, within 1 year is absolutely remarkable. So kudos to companies for making that. And then we have two stories related to sensors and I would say robotics, dealing with how we deal with touch on a surface. So normally when we're dealing with touch for robotics again, I can have a robot pick up a cup or something, and to do that is actually rather complicated because it needs to know when it's gripping the cup and then how much pressure to exert to hold it, but not so much pressure to break it. And one of the problems with this normally is that in the act of gripping the cup, any sensor that is going to measure the pressure, it needs to deform to around the cup. It's being pressed in. And over repeated use, this causes the sensor to start to deform or even just not keep its elasticity. And towards that end, doctors Lee and Associates have made a new sensor using Nanomesh capable of repeated use, which would be one step closer towards a sort of human-like skin for robotics that are necessary to grip things and move things around and be able to very delicately measure the pressure involved in this kind of task. Separately, we have doctors Yu and Associates who've conquered an issue that we've been having, that normally when I want to sense when I have a sensor touching something, if I also want to sense how warm that is, well, normally it's an issue because the sensors for touch and the sensors for temperature get coupled together. There's interference because the touch sensors tend to be very temperature dependent. But you and Associates were able to get around this using a conductive elastomeric film, which this gets a little bit technical, but bear with me. They were able to show that the ion relaxation time within the film could be used as a mechanical strain insensitive variable to measure temperature, while at the same time, the capacitance of the film could be used as a temperature insensitive way to measure the mechanical strain. And that lets the two issues be decoupled so that they don't interfere with each other in signal, and you can measure both aspects at the same time. I can tell my cup is warm and also I'm in contact with it, whereas before I could tell that I was in contact with it, but not necessarily how warm or cold it was, or I could tell that it was warm or cold, but as soon as I started touching it, I could use a separate instrument to tell those things, but it got complicated. Once again, this is all just very cool news, to me at least, regarding future robotics and sensors and things we can do to let robots and computers interact with the world in a more human-like fashion that we take for granted, because human skin is actually pretty remarkable and has had millions of years to develop all of the delicate, nuanced senses which it has. And finally, we also have news of diamonds being created at room temperature for the first time ever. This done by the Australian National University and our MIT University. And it's cool because, of course, diamonds are expensive. And anything we can do to make them less expensive, more common, is great. One, because of not good practices used in their gathering very often, but also because diamonds are used a lot in labs and even machinery. And so being able to get those to be used in labs more cheaply is going to make a lot of research more possible. The researchers creating these diamonds at room temperature were able to do so still putting carbon under really intense pressure, which you'd expect. Normally diamonds are produced deep in the Earth's mantle under intense pressure and heat. But room temperature is novel. That's much colder than the mantle of the Earth. This done by involving shear forces along with the high pressure, which allow, well, if I imagine my fists having the force of one going up and one going down with the interface of the material in between them, the scientists have postulated that these shear forces allow the carbon atoms to slip into that diamond lattice structure, which scientists are familiar with, and which gives diamond its unique properties. So, those are just 4 articles that jumped out at me this week. I think it's all very cool, but I'm sure I missed things. If you know of any science that you'd like to see covered, tell me about it down below. I'm always excited to learn new things. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe so you never miss out. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and you can always change your mind later. And until next time, see ya.